Welcome back to the Nano Cruising Podcast. Can you believe this is actually episode 33? This has been over a year, ongoing every 2 weeks, but this is great. So today we continue our conversation with John Welsford. So let's get right back to it.
And right now I'm up on the drawing board is a 7 meter long blue water capable cruising yacht
Wow.
that would be fine for two people, but would be perfect for a single hander.
So Sundowner was about that length, a similar, or maybe?
6.5.
Okay, similar.
Sundowner is a big build. She was an exploration grade boat.
Has there more? Has there been more?
Oh yeah,
Sundowner? Okay,
yeah.
I just heard that one story, right? So
There's 5 of them sailing so
five
far.
of them selling. Okay, wow.
Yeah, one recently launched in Whangarei in the north of New Zealand. Here, there's one I heard of, because I don't get feedback from everybody, but there's one I understand sailing in Nova Scotia. There's one in Scotland.
Yes.
And there's one in Australia.
Wow, nice. And tell me about this new design that's on your board. You're saying the 7 meter?
Yeah, twin bilge keels.
Yes.
A hard skeg for the rudder. That makes the rudder stronger, as well as giving the boat 3 points on which to sit if you want to put it ashore and let the tide go out and get in and scrub it.
Yes.
It's got standing headroom in the galley and the after end of the cabin. It's got an enclosed toilet, a single-masted junk rig.
Right.
And some of the styling is sort of intended to remind you that there is a Chinese connection there.
Right.
So, but that raised after end of the shear line means that the cockpit is very protected. So there's and also up forward with the bow, they tend to have the bow quite wide at the right at the forward end, and you can stow 2 anchors on it. Right. So
yes.
There's a number of features taken from the general perception of Chinese junk boats. In fact, there's an enormous variety of them, but
yes,
that's the general perception. And actually, that leads me on to another subject: is styling of boats. So what I try and do when I'm drawing a boat is I draw the boat. The styling is to connect with people's perceptions. And the perceptions may be taken from books, it may be taken from boats that they've seen, it may be taken from photographs.
Yeah, your styles are very classic, beautiful classic styles. English, I would say.
Yes.
So,
yes. East Coast English.
East Coast English, yes.
And if you have a look at Redcar and Whitby cobbles, well, actually, Redcar call them cobbles, and the other one calls them cobbles.
Okay.
Yeah. England is not unified in terms of its accent. There are towns 10 miles apart with mutually incomprehensible accents.
Another one, I guess, a newly announced one, fairly, is the Scallywag. You knew we would talk about that. The Scallywag. Tell me about the Scallywag, where that came from, and where's that? That's a very interesting one.
Quite a few people love the scamps, and owners of scamps love them, but they wanted an enclosed cabin, but they wanted to be connected with the scamp world. So that's where that's come from. And I'm working away. I'm getting feedback from some of the builders, and there is slight modifications going on in the plans. Some mods to make it easier to build, some mods to change the layout slightly, particularly around the ballast tanks. They're a big boat. They're 16.5 feet long and big volume, like a scamp. Scamp is the biggest 12-footer you ever saw.
No kidding. No kidding.
These are much the same in terms of a 16.5-footer. I mean, it's got the well ahead of the mast and cabin where your anchor and everything lives is big enough to seat a small child comfortably.
Wow, that's it. So to me, I don't know, the tread lightly is kind of the scamp with the cabin. very small.
Yeah, tread lightly is a dedicated one-person cruising yacht.
That's right.
And you can lie one person down inside in sufficient space to be reasonably comfortable. You can sail it with two in the cockpit, but it's a little cramped. But for one person, it's really comfortable. And the people who've built them really like them. There's only been, I think, 4 built.
That's right. Yes.
But yeah, that's okay. That was an experiment, and it worked.
Beautiful boat.
That led to that led to Sherpa, and then that led to Tender Behind.
That's right.
And on to Scamp.
Right. You can see the evolutions of them. Yeah. What's the one? It's a fully enclosed and barely any outside, and I think you built it to go across oceans, but it was for one person going on a small, I think it's 19 foot or something like that.
Oh, well, there's
Maggie. Maggie, is that the one?
Maggie.
Yes.
Yep.
That boat made me dream so much. I could see myself all over the world with this boat.
Well, that's another exploration grade boat.
Yes.
It's a really tough boat. It's very, very strongly built and capable of ocean voyaging comfortably. And it's got a double bunk, 2 quarter berths, and 2 armchairs.
Yes.
But you sail it from inside. There's space to go outside and sit upstairs and sail. But it's intended to be sailable from inside with the junk rig.
Yes.
The people who've done them, there's 3, I think. It's a big build, but if you were constrained in terms of your build space, and you're prepared to put, say, $100 a week into it, over 3 years, you'd end up with a totally ocean-capable little boat.
It's amazing. Do you have any favorite stories from people that have built or cruised your designs? You must have a lot of good stories you hear.
Oh, a lot. My friend David Perillo bought a Navigator.
Yes.
And he shipped it up to Fiji and sailed it from the main shipping port around the island. And that's no mean feat on its own, because there are very few harbours or anything. And then made the jump across to the northern Yasawa Islands. And that's a long jump. I mean, more than 24 hours. And in full trade wind, open sea conditions, you're running 4 and 5 metre waves and blowing 30 knots. And he said that it was a night to separate the men from the boys, and there weren't any men out there. He also said that the boat seemed to know what it was doing, and he didn't have any really hairy moments because the boat knew what it was doing. And so interestingly enough, he sailed around for months in the Yasawa group, and the Yasawa group up there has very little contact with the outside world, more so of these days, but then a very few cruising yachts, and maybe once a year a stores supply ship would arrive and then head off to the next island. And he ended up leaving the boat there for the locals who had hosted him and had been so friendly and helpful.
Hmm.
He left the boat there for them to use for fishing because they couldn't afford the fuel for the big outboard powered runabouts that the United Nations fisheries organisations tend to foist onto these people. And that boat is still there many years later, and it's being used as the bum boat. So when the cruising yachts come in, that's the boat that comes out with the fresh fruit and vegetables on board.
Oh, wow.
So there's that one, and of course, most people know of Howard Rice's expedition into Tierra del Fuego down towards Cape Horn. I was part of that expedition.
That is. Would you, when that sort of when he started to plan for that, did you tell him, "Are you out of your mind? This is pushing. This is not what the design was for." No,
No, no,
no.
no. He is a vastly experienced
He
sailor
is. He is.
in all sorts of boats, big boats, small boats, modern boats,
Yes.
extreme and vintage. He really knows what he's doing. And I trusted that. So he and I did an expedition into Santiago and then down to Punta Arenas. We were doing two things. One is we were trying to search out the people who had been the lighthouse keepers at Cape Horn, where he stayed during his expedition with the Klepper folding kayak to go around Cape Horn and back.
That's right.
We didn't succeed, which was a bit sad, but we were trying to do that. We also needed to know what the officials were going to require in order to be able to do the expedition when the boat came down. So going into that area, it's a World Heritage Park. There's very limited access allowed. The Navy, the Armada de Chile, you have to get permission from them to go into that area. They are the guardians of the sea for Chile. They're not only the Navy, they're fisheries management, they are lighthouse keepers, they are harbour masters, everything to do with the water. And if you want to go in there, you go and find out what they want and you comply. And if you don't comply, all hell breaks loose. They are I must say, they were really crisp to deal with. They were excellent. They told us exactly what was required. So when we went back a year later with the boat, we had everything they needed, and they were grateful and respectful of that.
Okay.
Excellent.
Right.
Very good. In fact, officialdom in Chile we found was really good to deal with.
And you've sailed a lot of your boats, of course, and that's pretty important for design itself to sail his boats. Has there been surprises from that, or give you other ideas?
Yeah, I think it's very important for designers to sail their own boats.
Yes.
There are always learning opportunities,
Mm-hmm.
and those learning opportunities, of course, pop up in the next design or future designs. But it enables, for me anyway, I go sailing and I think, well, I can just change this a little bit. Or if I do that, I get to know the handling characteristics. I can work out what causes those handling characteristics, what factors in the design and shape and rig and everything produce particular results. So in the end, it's much more valuable than the customer feedback, and the customer feedback is in itself very valuable.
Yes.
So yes, it's really important for designers to at least go out on their own boats, if not build and sail. Now I like to build, partly because I tell people I live in the workshop, right? I have to have a house in which to eat and drink and sleep.
Yes.
That's where I'm really alive, is in the workshop. I really enjoy building.
Nice.
Um,
And designing, obviously.
yeah,
So, besides Howard, has there ever been other boats that you've designed that have been used in unexpected ways, or surprised you, or even inspired you to do that?
Quite a lot. The Clarence River Dory, there's a story behind that. During the insurgency in East Timor, Timor-Leste it's called now, they had a referendum on independence, and the locals voted for independence from Indonesia. Now, Indonesia, if you're going to be polite, you'd say they were a bit possessive. They funded and supported a militia that absolutely trashed East Timor. They killed a lot of people. They destroyed a lot of the infrastructure. They smashed all the coastal fishing boats, the little villages along the area.
Awful.
They drove those people so far back in terms of structure and social thing that for many, many years there were almost no seagulls in East Timor because the people had eaten all the eggs, right?
Right. Oh my God.
They'd driven a society that was literate, had schools and reasonably good education, and some reasonable sort of basic health care back to grass skirts.
Oh my God.
So New Zealand had a military presence up there to try and help stabilise the place.
Okay.
And I got a contact from a New Zealand boat builder in Australia who wanted to help out.
Okay.
And he contacted me and said, would you design something that would work for up there?
Wow.
So I contacted a New Zealand Army officer up there, and she came back and told me what kind of boats the locals would use and what resources. So I designed the Clarence River Dory, which the idea was we'd kit set them in Australia and send them up.
Wow.
The first one was built, loaded up by the local Lions Club with wheelchairs and medical supplies and fishing gear and all sorts of stuff. It was loaded to the gunnels, and it went in a Royal Australian Air Force Hercules, took it up there,
Okay.
and was gifted to a village.
Wow.
And apparently the gifting was a real tearjerker. The locals had built a thatched roofed longhouse for the boat, and when it was delivered, and it had the world's rattiest 3.5 horse Tahatsu two-stroke outboard on it, they motored it up to the beach. The locals met it in the water, picked it up and carried it with the crew into the longhouse.
Wow.
And put on the best feast that they could.
Wow. What a great story.
Now, I lost track. I don't get a royalty. That was a gift. Barry started a boat building school in Dili, the biggest town in the province there, where two people from a village would come in. They would be gifted materials for 2 boats and tools. And I was running around second-hand shops here collecting tools for them. And they would build a boat, and it would go out. They would take the boat out plus the materials for a second one and start building back at the village. And it got it down to about 40 man-hours per boat. These are very simple boats, but they're very effective. And I lost track at about 1,200 of them. And there are some on the east coast of Ceylon. There are some in the Philippines where there have been disasters that have wiped out the local fishing fleet, like tsunami or hurricanes.
Right.
These things are really quick and easy to build, and they're very cheap, but they're still very effective.
Right.
I have somewhere a photograph of 2 of them. Now, the frame heads, as designed, stick up about a handspan above the gunnels. And there's 2 of them lashed together with bamboo poles with a Toyota pickup straddling it.
No way.
And one outboard motor, a 5-horse outboard, and they're heading for an island which is out of sight over the horizon.
Oh, wow. I want to see that picture. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
That's a real gift for you. That's amazing that, you can use your
some
skill to help so many people.
yeah, some of the letters I got really brought tears.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was a whole life changer for villagers.
Yes.
They'd get two of them and they'd fish them in shifts. The
Right.
boats were working 24 hours a day.
Wow. Yeah.
Yamaha came to the party. They have a program apparently where they build a special 25 horsepower two-stroke outboard, which is absolutely basic. It's got no extras whatsoever,
Okay.
but they're bulletproof. They're the most robust motor you'll ever come across. And they had a container load of them up there, looking for something to be put on, and a lot of those went on to those 6 meter long Clarence River Dories, and
Okay.
they go like stink. They'll do 30 knots empty,
Oh my God.
but they will also carry half a ton of fish and two people at 15 knots.
Mm, mm. Wow. So you used your knowledge to create a design that was, and it fit right in, so
Yeah.
that's
So they're
amazing.
designed to be built out of construction grade plywood, galvanized nails and screws,
Okay.
and cartridge type construction glues.
About you have a book that's very famous. We're all trying to get our hands on. So I have somebody that asked me, please. So Martin Eckbert, one of my listeners, please ask John about. Do you have a new book? He says apparently, you think you have a new book. Is that
Oh,
correct?
that's a very sore subject. I'm hoping that Wooden Boat will pick up a reprint,
Of the Backyard
and
Builders, that the
we've
one?
got it. We've got it done to digital form, and it's just about ready to reprint. I've got quite a lot of work done on a new edition,
Okay.
but there's life gets in the way, and
Yes.
it's never been quite um, at the top of my list. But I note that if they pop up on Amazon, I go for a couple of $100.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know. I've been trying to
Mm.
get my hands on one. It's like, oh my God. So it's gonna be a new version of that, I guess, and revamped. Yes, they're worth their mint. So I'm happy to hear there's gonna be a reprint and a new version, obviously. So
Mm.
that's
Yeah, it'll happen sometime. I'm one of those sad people that if I feel like I'm being nagged about something, it goes to the bottom of the list.
I asked my listeners if you have they have questions, and we have a lot of questions. Another one we might have covered, we'll cover. So Dennis Therian asked, if there are study plans for Scallywag and when the full plans will be available.
No,
And
they'll be. That's another nag thing. They'll be ready when they're ready.
I'm sorry, yes. And he would like to hear your thoughts on junk rig versus balanced lug sails.
Okay, my thinking is that below about 140 square feet of sail area, the balance lug is the better of the two, mainly because of the much simpler. There's a lot less bits of string in it. Above that, the ease of handling of the junk rig takes over. And but my friend Paul Thompson, who has developed the cambered panel junk rig,
Mm-hmm.
which is way more efficient than a flat panel one.
Okay.
They're almost as quick, and I mean really almost as quick upwind as a conventional Bermuda jib and main. Um, I'm building a Sai at the moment. That's a little 15-foot double ender. And I've asked him to build me a junk sail for it so that I will have direct experience rather than anecdotal experience with that rig. And of course, the 7 meter blue water cruiser that I'm designing is junk rigged, and Swaggy's junk rigged, and there's junk rigs for boats like Fafnir and a couple of the others.
That's right. Yes. Yeah, Fafnir is the crazy small small round the world boat. That's what is it? 10 feet, 9 feet?
Oh no, it's 14.
14. Okay, it just
Yeah.
yeah.
But people who've there's been a couple of people build them with sharp bows on, but the two people who've built them with the pram bow on say that it works really well. They're very happy with them.
There's one in Sweden, I think, and I don't know, Nordic countries or something. Yes.
Yeah.
We'll do some rapid fire questions. Favorite boat design, whether yours or another one, classic or modern?
Well, it depends a bit on what side of the bed I get out on in the morning.
That's right, for sure. So, and
Herreshoff's H28.
oh, okay, yes,
And in fact, my partner and I have got a fiberglass one of those.
okay,
That's our blue water cruiser. So there's that. I'm a great fan of Joel White's work, and I had the great privilege of a couple of hours in his drawing office. I visited the boatworks up there in Maine and was shown where the ladder was. Hop up there and have a look. Just put the drawings back when you're finished, which was very good.
Nice.
So,
nice.
Yeah, it's hard to say because there are so many really, really good examples. I've got
It's not a fair question. It's just
yeah,
a quick. Yeah.
I've got all of Phil Bolger's books, and there are some amazing examples of structure and of shape and of rig and of fitness for purpose in there. I've got John Leather's books, gaff rig and lug sails and sprit sails.
No, it's hard to say. Okay, another question. You love your workshop, so this one should be fun. What's the one tool you can't live without? What's the one tool that's seen it all?
My big bandsaw.
Big bandsaw, sure.
I've got a big 3 horsepower, 20-inch bandsaw.
Okay.
And I've got 4 different blades for it.
Okay.
So there's a small one for scroll cutting. There's and that's 10 teeth per inch. There's a 1/2 inch 6 TPI, which does most of the work. But there's 20 millimeter, 3/4 inch with 3 teeth per inch, which is effectively a sawmill. I can go through 10 inches of wood with that.
Wow. That's a.
But really, given a choice, I'm a hand tools person.
Yes.
I don't use a router a lot. Okay. Because boat building is a whole series of one-off jobs. So to pick up a power tool and set up for it takes longer than picking up a hand tool and using that.
True. That's true. That's very true. Most memorable cruising destination you visited or dream of visiting? Could be in New Zealand or anywhere around the globe.
Oh, dear. I've sailed in all sorts of places, but the one that comes to mind very recently is Tasmania. I got an invitation, and they were kind enough to pay all my expenses to go there to do the Tawinagana raid, which is a 9-day raid. Wow. 34 boats, 6 support boats, camps set up at each destination along the way, and finishing at the Hobart Wooden Boat Festival. Nice. And you can see a lot of that on YouTube on Small Craft Tasmania channel.
Okay, that's I haven't seen that. I'll watch that.
So I was invited to do that and did it in a navigator with Matt Conboy, my host. It was quite an experience.
I can imagine. What's your go-to snack or meal when you're out on the water?
Generally fresh fruit.
Yeah.
Either
Nice.
that or a bran biscuit,
Hmm.
right? Something that's high in fiber, low in sugar, maybe with a lot of dried fruit in it.
Right.
Um, I'm not a fan for scroggin. You end up with peanuts in places where you shouldn't,
Mhm. Right.
and loose stuff like that.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. Not
yeah.
gonna get anywhere.
Breakfast, we have a brand here which does porridge, one serving per sachet. You just pull that out, rip the top off, tip it into a pot, and throw some water in it, and you've got your porridge heated up. Um, and a good hot breakfast is for me, it's absolutely necessary.
I agree.
Um, yeah, I don't do well when I'm hungry. And that comes into the decision making and the comfort thing.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. Music, silence, or sounds of nature while cruising?
Um, I carry a recorder, um, simple thing, and I
Hmm.
can play a recorder, whereas a lot of other musical instruments I can't.
Nice. Oh, that's a great idea. That's nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I'm a bit short, one fingertip.
Yes.
But yeah, I play generally folk music,
Nice.
Celtic music.
Nice. Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. One more quote or motto you live by can be wise or witty, boating or otherwise.
Do no harm.
That's nice. Anything else, John? You would like to pass your our listeners nano cruising that we haven't covered?
Yeah, one of my I have a whole lot of little mottos,
Yes.
which I feed to people,
Yes.
and one of them is that by the time you have built your boat, you will have all of the skills you wished you had when you began.
That's true. That's so true. Very
So
true.
don't be scared.
Well,
Start.
you can start. Just start and learn, right? Start and
Yep.
learn.
Yeah. I think that the small cruising yachts, the open boat cruises, is possibly the only real growth area in the whole recreational boating field.
Yeah, actually, it's a good question. What do you think of the next 20 years? What's the world of boating or sailing going to be at? I didn't.
Big boats are getting increasingly expensive.
Hmm.
I believe that we're heading into a time when a lot of people will be under some financial constraints. We're also heading into a time where a very large block of the population will be in their retirement years.
Right.
So they're physically constrained, they're economically constrained, and a lot of them having given up their day jobs. And when you talk to a man and you say, "What are you?" in your very deepest heart, they will tell you what they do for a living. And once they lose that, it's a big loss.
Yes.
Like being up in the air with no parachute.
Hmm.
What the hell am I?
Hmm.
So a small boat, a build and a sailing and a cruising gives them something to be. And I believe that's the part of the key behind our the growth of dinghy cruising.
Yes. I can feel it too. I can feel it. There's a growth in it and an interest in it and a revival of small boat and that. It's great, which is great.
Yeah. And yeah, cost and limited resources and everything all ends up.
Hmm.
You can have big adventures in little boats without going very far.
That's
You don't have
exactly
to
right.
go. You don't have to go around the five Great Capes in a $300,000 boat to
That's
have
right.
a big adventure.
That's right. That's very correct. That's you're preaching my religion. That's exactly it. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you so much, Don. Really appreciate your time. And
absolutely my pleasure. It's been great. Thank you.
fun conversations and great insights. Okay, now for our next episode, we have Stephen Ladd. Stephen had 2 great journeys that he's documented in his 2 books, 3 years in a 12-foot boat and a 5-year voyage. Should be pretty fascinating. So again, thank you for joining us. Thank you for the support. Thank you for sharing with friends and people interested in nano cruising. Share the word, share the passion. To not miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to our mailing list. Join us on our nano cruising group where we can interact. And more importantly, seize your own adventure.